you mentioned the Templeton Prize that your father won in 2005 for. What exactly would you say it was for?
Well, it was for a paper that he published in the 60s discussing the convergence of science and religion. The fact that these things were not battling each other, but in fact many of the fundamental tenets were similar. For instance, you had to have faith in both situations. You have to have faith that the laws of nature work. For instance, and people sometimes don't realize that it's still sort of a matter of faith, and that discoveries come by revelation, in a sense, both for religion and even for science. You work hard, you somehow you have kind of, a light bulb idea, which could be described as revelation. So he had written this up. My understanding is he got a lot of flack for that. But he then was asked to talk about that topic in many different venues, and became known for thinking about that and being willing to share his own faith with scientists, which you can imagine was not a thing that was done, although there are many scientists who are very spiritual. It was usually kept kind of secret. And so they honored him for those thoughts and that sort of talking and advocating for the fact that science and religion can coexist, that they both have an important role to play in our understanding of the universe and our place in the universe. So that's what I believe constitutes the basis for his getting the Templeton Award. And once again, the family, he always lets the family enjoy these things. So we all went to London and went to Buckingham Palace and so forth, and that was fun for us. We don't have to do any work, we just enjoy the parties.
Sure. I imagine when you were at the Nobel ceremony or at the Templeton ceremony that many people approached your father, and did you kind of learn things as people approached him, interacted with him, congratulated him, things like that?
Well, I'm not sure we learned anything. I must say, in his 99th birthday party that was held at UC Berkeley, I was there to represent my sisters, and it was a lovely occasion. There were a lot of people there, and a lot of people who didn't know him, and students and young people coming up to him and asking him to sign things and asking him to have their picture taken with him. And I guess I didn't realize what a figure he had become, even to the younger generation. That frankly surprised me, and I was very touched by that. So the students were by far the largest group there, and they were just eager to see this old guy and shake his hand and so forth. So that was kind of touching. I have talked to a few of his colleagues and learned a little bit more about his humor in the lab and his hard work in the lab, that he never tired, but I knew that because he was like that as a dad too. He was just go, go, go.
I was going to ask about his ethic, because he maintained an office at Berkeley until
about 4 months. He retired officially September 2014, and he died the end of January 2015. So towards the end, he wasn't doing all that much in there, but he still went and responded to correspondence, checked in with people in the space science lab to find out what they were doing, and went to seminars. My understanding is even asked questions. So yeah, he was active really, up until his death.
Did he ever comment on that period in the mid to late 50s when the race to invent the laser was on, and the ruby laser was invented by Theodore Maiman in 1960, and then, or did he ever comment on the growth of various types of lasers and their applications? Did he just ever...
Well, he would bring home little lasers sometimes and do things the way Art Charlow did, pop balloons or not pop balloons, and bring home laser pointers. So he would tell us about sort of the fun aspects, and we enjoyed that. I know he was very interested in the medical applications of lasers when he talked with me, because being in medical schools, I've been in medical schools even during my PhD, so he wanted to know, what are they being used for, what do you know about it, and so I could tell him what was happening in terms of eye surgery, because lasers are used in a lot of different eye surgeries, different types of things. So he was always very eager to know about that. But as I say, he didn't bring home a lot of sort of the more scientific stuff. We did visit his lab on occasion, and when we did that, he would show us lasers. Once again, often popping balloons at the end. But no, I guess we weren't really aware.
You talked about the collaboration you had the opportunity to engage in. Did you ever approach your father with questions about methodology or approaches just in a broader sense to a question that you were working on or a project, just to share ideas about how to...
Well, I would tell him about my work. In terms of the optical tweezers, I did talk to him on several occasions about the physics of that. I'm not a physicist at all, and in fact didn't take physics until graduate school. And I had to take a freshman physics course, and my father helped me through that. I passed, but it wasn't my strong suit. So I was asking him about how the forces of optical tweezers came to be. And when I wrote my first paper on the optical tweezers, I asked him to please check what I had written about how the tweezers worked. And so he checked it. I believe he made a couple of changes. I think he did. I should go back and look at that. So that's the only time we really, in a nitty-gritty way, talked science. Other than that, it was more general. He, in the end, was very interested in neuroscience broadly, and how we have consciousness and how we have free will, if we have free will. But that's a topic that I think is wide open, so it was just broad conversations, nothing specific. But he was very interested in the workings of the mind, and felt with me that probably we will never understand ourselves completely.
How do you think, did he ever talk about what he hoped his legacy would be, or what do you think his legacy ultimately is?
In his later life, so the last 10 years of his life, he told all of us that he wanted to be remembered as a religious man. Religion was, and his faith was very important to him. He felt it very early, apparently even before the teenage years. He felt the presence of God or a spiritual being or something. He asked his mother to be baptized before It was necessary. They were Baptists at the time. He credits the good luck of his life as really because he was being helped and watched over by a spiritual presence. So he wanted to be remembered as a religious man. I think he understood that lasers had become a huge field, and he certainly understood that, and I think he felt good about that, but he also was always very careful to credit the fact that many people contributed to that. Many people made, incredible contributions and innovations and all that. So, I always felt that's the way he looked at that part of what might be his legacy, that it was a team effort. And I recently was just looking at the comments he made at the Nobel dinner when he got up to make a toast, and his main thrust there was that everyone should understand that science is really a team effort, and we stand on the shoulders of others and we work with others, and no one person really is, the key thing. So I think that's part of his legacy, that he had a good sense of where he was in the network, that it wasn't all about him. In terms of the family, he was just a very loving, supportive person, and we all feel we just learned so much about how to relate to the world, and he was not scared of disagreements, but he never gave up on a person, ever, no matter how difficult they might be, and that really was a legacy for us, that his sort of genuine kindness, thoughtfulness. If you were in a room and someone was out in a corner on their own, I remember seeing my father go directly to that person to say hello. Now, one can argue that he himself was not a little timid, and so might have been more comfortable doing that, but I think it was purposeful, and that was his, he always did that. The outlier, would introduce himself and sit with him. So for the family, his character and personality, I think, were a legacy that we all deeply appreciate, and it has informed us in terms of how we relate to the world. So I think he would have appreciated that, knowing that. To the end, he let us know that he loved us and was proud of us. He would often say, proud of you, proud of what you do, and proud of what you are. And I couldn't ask for more.